there's a machete in my hand as I take this interview, right? And that's a really big um, motif for me.
Hi, everybody. My name is Erinma Adaeze. I'm an artist, curator, and editor of Ivory Circus Magazine. I'm so excited because today is episode one of Ivory Circus Studios. The magazine is no stranger to artist interviews, but today is different because we're leaving analog behind and moving into the digital, bringing you all into artist studios. And I couldn't have thought of a better artist to kick off this series than Didier. He's an amazing photographer, designer, model, multi hyphenate, based here in New York from Baltimore, Maryland. Didier, thank you so much for being here, for having us here.
Thank you for having me.
We can talk about art for a while, but I think before art, I just want to know like how you are as a person outside of art. How are you doing right now?
I don't know if I live outside of art very much, but I guess in general, I don't know. I'm like full of energy right now. I'm a senior, so I'm about to graduate school, and I'm trying to just like really get all of that youthful energy out.
But are you listening to their advice of like chilling out and like letting yourself kind of enjoy this time outside of working on photo and everything else?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not listening that well, but I do have a slight vacation plan for myself, so I'm gonna be going to like Paris in a couple weeks. But like
Oh.
that's about it. After that, it's just planned to be like straight grind.
Congratulations. You just finished your third photo book.
In the Griot series, this is my third one coming out. It's called Griot Against the Sky, and it's a meditation on like what the sky means to me. As a kid, I spent a lot of time just outside, um, sitting in the sun, enjoying the sun, playing outside. Um, Oftentimes, I would go at night and just look at the stars and just stare and play my favorite songs, sing to myself, and dance a little bit around and just like enjoy the sky at all times. And I feel like that's one of my best friends. I feel like at the times when I needed grounding the most, I'm always able to just look up at the sky, feel the warmth of the sun, even in the winter, and just have that calm. This is spanning the last 2 years, and so at the beginning of the summer, I lost my aunt, and a lot of the book is sort of that back and forth between celebrating life and sort of constantly fearing death, but also appreciating that it's not there. It's like a little back and forth experience.
How is that for your families to kind of have a book that kind of spans a little bit of this time and kind of paints this loss in a different way? Like, how has this been healing in some way for your family, or what have their reactions been to it?
It's always nice when my little cousins, like a couple times, they've been like, "Oh, I get to feel like art," and that's cool to like have them know that they're like worthy of being regarded highly and like just them being themselves, just them existing, because all these pictures are taken on days that they're not expecting to be grandly photographed, and just coming and just getting that snapshot and that becoming something important to me, to them, and then to someone else. All of that is, it's a really great experience. And so over the time of just making the books, it's been important for the purpose of sort of recognition, and then more personally now, just having photos at the funeral, having photos um, just with and of my family. I don't know. It's important to feel seen, and as Black people, I guess we were like our existence was so heavily punished and policed for so long, and so it's nice to finally have like a time where we can just be a bit.
Yeah, for sure. I love what you said about your little cousins getting to feel like art.
Yeah.
I think for like me and taking photos, even if it's just for family, I feel like I've kind of employed myself as like the family archivist. Like I'm trying to take as many pictures as possible, like recording like elders' voices, like writing down accounts of what certain events are like. And like it really does feel like a full-time job, but also a very rewarding one. I have family photos, but I don't think with the same intention that me and like this new generation have of like, no, we really want our family to feel like our story is important and wanting to be captured. So I'm happy that you're doing the same for yours. Like I'm sure they're very grateful to have these.
Well, part of what sort of had me start taking photos was um, it's behind the camera, but the dresser right there is the dresser that we grew up having our TV on. And in the shelves of the dresser, we had like probably like 12 different just like boxes full of like the Target CVS photos that you get back on
Mm-hmm.
film. And all of these images were shot on my dad's camera, which was one of the first big purchases he made when he came to America from Congo. And so seeing that my whole life, and like I always think back to like the best days where it would be the summer and I would just be sitting by the biggest window in our house on the carpet, and like the carpet is warm so you can lay down and it's extra cozy, and you're just like the sun is beaming on you and you get to look through all these photos of like times you can't really imagine, like Nigeria in the 70s, and like seeing my mother and her like trips to Baltimore like when she was a kid, and just like all types of different images that I never got to experience. And now I feel like I'm doing the same thing. I'm making these family photo albums. And at some point, there will be people who are past me, past my time, who are like the next generation, who will be able to look back at these with some sort of like a feeling of, okay, I come from somewhere.
Like what's your influences like?
Stylistic influences, 2018, 2019, like back when like Gunnar Stahl and Chris Skylark and like all of them were doing their thing. Like those early days, I remember, ooh, Jerry Carnation, just like all of these Tumblr, like really good, like those point and shoot flash poppy photos. Like I saw those pictures and I was like, yo, I want to do that. I went from being like, yo, I'm going to take photos of every single famous person and every single rah, and I went from that to just being like, okay, like I have beautiful grandparents, I have beautiful cousins, I have beautiful parents, I have beautiful sisters. Like I'm able to just capture the people around me, and that's just as important. But also, like, I don't know, it's been nice to combine those two things, because I feel like there was a little while where like that was all I knew, at least in my generation. Like the lane to be a black photographer was like the celebrity photo.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do that, and I still like it. It's fun, but it's like I was able to like look inside myself and be like, okay, there's other people, there's other things. And so like I have uh Gordon Parks book and Ernest Cole book at my feet right now. I don't know, it's weird in my head because photography wasn't formalized until like right at the end of like 2019, when like my teacher was like, yo, these photos that you're taking, you should like do something with these. And I was like, what? I was and it was funny because I was just like taking photos because I like using the camera, and then I was like, oh, I'm doing the same thing that Gunnar Stahl and Chris and everyone's doing, but I'm also doing the same thing that like Gordon Parks and Ernst Cole and like all of these people. Like I didn't realize slowly that there was a whole universe that I was connecting into just by being this black photographer.
Shout out to that teacher.
Shout out, yeah.
I'm happy that you mentioned a few photographers that were like your early inspirations when it came. And I think it's beautiful to have this story of like realizing that you, as a Black photographer, are a part of this. But I'm always curious for artists, your inspiration in other mediums, particularly music, actually. Like, what do you listen to?
What do I listen to?
Yeah.
Oh, it spans a lot. But right now, You Think Maybe by Mike, um, and underscore 21 by Liv. Those two have been holding me down. You know, Liv got good songs about being the age that you are, like about love at 20. Like that's crazily specific, but it feel like love at 20. Like she got it. I'm a obsessive and like repetitive person. Like I go deep into whatever I'm into. And so like when it comes to artists, like I'll listen to their whole discography, know their whole discography back and forth. And then I get on the SoundCloud and I start downloading like different leaks and I start listening to live performances. And so like I got different playlists. Like I got a Dijon live performance playlist. I got a McGee live performance playlist. I got the Frank Ocean live performance. Uh, and I got the leaks. I'm sorry. Ijo Fuji A. Um, there's BCDE. I only get to A because that one itself is 20 minutes. But just some good Fuji music always gets me. I like Fela, Congolese music, Kofi Olomide, Awilo Longomba, Extra Musica. Marvin Gaye has been going crazy lately. There's this one all the way around live performance where he spins around while he's singing. I'm like, yeah, that's the one. And the Rock With You music video as well. But especially live music. Mistakes are beautiful, imperfection is beautiful, cracking voices are beautiful. Yeah, there's a lot of people. I love music. That's like the only media I really consume outside of like the regrettable Instagram Reels addiction, Snoopy related content. I got it. I got a Snoopy watch on right now.
You gotta show the camera.
Yeah, I got a Snoopy watch on right now. But
because that's ice on him.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm always curious, just different influences outside of photo, especially for you who's not strictly in photo. You also design, model. You was humble about it, but we saw you in Office Mag and the Louis. Like, how have your different how have your different endeavors been for you outside of being behind the camera?
Um, it's interesting. Uh, like I always thought I was a model, but like the way everybody thinks they're a model. And then like I actually got asked to model um like freshman year, but like being in a publication, like I was in Interview Magazine fall of freshman year. That was crazy to me. Had a big like spread. It was me. I had red hair and I was in like Bottega Veneta set. And I was like, yo, I never worn something this expensive. And it was all type of crazy.
Like I understand you better, kind of hearing that background. So I'm glad to like have you have shared that and share that here as well, because I think it also encourages people, if they haven't already, to really go back through the Griot series and like see the intentionality between like how you've curated photos and like even you talking about you being a shy person. Like it kind of makes sense like to have like it be kind of a few words, but you have an afterword with some words. I was wondering if you'd be interested to share some with us today.
Yeah. So my sister wrote a beautiful afterword. I wrote um I wrote the foreword. If you close your eyes and I tell you a story about my life, this is what I want you to picture. Sunshine and smiles, color and closeness, love and loss. I live my life against the sky. Every moment I inch closer to her. I can't quite tell how far away she is. One day, I want you to join me in the sky. Until then, I'll find the sky in you. As the sun shines on your skin and your eyes light up like a firework, when a smile creeps across your lips and your teeth sparkle, when we sit fireside under the stars and I sing to you my favorite songs, when you comfort me as I overflow with tears. Um, so thinking about mortality, and my auntie Ellen and her passing at the beginning of the summer, and then um, uh, just that experience. Um, my uncle Thaddeus, a few years before that, his funeral underscored um, a good part of my last book, Fly on the Wall. Sort of that the people you love are still there because you can look up at the sky and you can feel as though they're looking back down at you. And sometimes you'll think about them to the sky and then something will remind you of them. It'll always come back. Okay, we're
Yeah.
talking about spirituality.
Yeah, I think it's perfect because you're talking about your family memories and like love and loss as well. But I'm just really curious how you see your own art practice, if you see your own art practice as spiritual.
This has been a photo based interview. We've talked so much about photos, but there's a machete in my hand as I take this interview, right? And that's a really big um, motif for me. Fine art explorations, design things. I'm not really sure what the name for it is. I like to make objects. I've always liked to make objects. I never found a good name for it. But um, the objects that I make, I think, are really the most spiritual for me. Um, this machete uh, is part of some work I made last year, an ode to the Haitian Revolution and also to the uh, Nigerian religious influence that um, uh, started it, along with the Congolese religious influence, but specifically the idea of Ogun in Nigeria, sort of the machinist metal worker, basically the patron of engineers, um, and then Ogu or Ogufere specifically, sort of the god of scrap metal, war a bit, I guess. Not war, maybe rebellion. So when it came time to have the Haitian Revolution, they called upon him to aid them. And so they took these large knives that they were using to cut sugarcane because we were um, sugarcane and coffee producing on the Haitian island. Um, and we use this sort of spiritual inspiration to free ourselves. And the machete to me means that a kitchen knife, the same tool that is so deeply tied to my oppression, the same tool that is so deeply tied to my suffering, can be the same tool that is the catalyst for freedom and for the eventual ending of the transatlantic slave trade. We set the groundwork for the ending of slavery in the Americas, and it was, in my eyes, all thanks to this little knife. Objects like this are very spiritual to me. This knife binds me and my history together, across the seas and throughout the continents. Um, is a really important motif, and I want to keep working with it. I made this large, really cozy Haitian flag, and um, I took a bunch of squares of cotton, and I did this process that my grandfather told me he learned um, as a child growing up in Okeo village, um, where he would uh, tie and dye, or adire in Yoruba. And it's not tie dye, it's tie and dye. Specifically, he reminds me. But um, I took each one of these squares. I found 4 different patterns that represented a bit of this Haitian story to me. These shells and wave-like patterns that remind you of the ocean, and you have this pattern which is reminiscent of sort of the the banding of a cane, so like the in and out sort of wrapping around of a cane. And then this one is more of a feeling to me, cargo. It's a feeling of like cargo and transportation, and how sort of the blue of the water, and also the blue representing the blackness of the skin of the people of Haiti, and then the blood being sort of, it means love and life and sacrifice to me, all of it. And so just the back and forth from the beauty of this flag, but then being able to tie this sort of identity and history on my father's side to this craft and practice on my mother's side has been very important. It's all very spiritually grounded. I'm researching so much about African and indigenous spirituality, and I'm learning so much about who I am. The more I research into this project, the more objects I work on, and the more things I try and create.
I think especially with issue 2 being Spirited Minds, this is exactly the conversation that I wanted to have and like hope that we have about it. It's like it gets deep, and I think it ends up not only intertwining you as a person, but of course family history. So I'm just happy to hear you talk about it and that you're interested to continue exploring it more in your practice and learning about it and researching it for yourself. And I'm hoping that for you, the issue is also a place where you can learn about what other artists' spiritual influences are and maybe take some inspiration too. I want to thank you so much for joining me on our first episode of Ivory Circus Studios. You've shared so many amazing stories and honestly been a huge source of inspiration for me as well. That's why I wanted to have you on. To wrap up, like a little segment called Gallery Talk, where I get to put you on to some artists I think you would like.
I can't
So I have 2 visual art pieces to show you and a song that Sophia actually chose.
wait. Ooh.
So yeah, we're just gonna see what you think. Okay, this is a piece. This is a digital collage I created. This is called Home.
Wow.
I'm thinking of having this in the show as well.
It's really great.
But it'll be printed like much larger scale.
No, that deserves a really strong print.
Of drawing and did portraits of different Congolese women, and they were used as stamps because like just ideas of like what this land looks like. It was the women that was like not even the architecture of Congo or the landscape, but the women. So I found that very interesting. Definitely chose these aesthetics as inspiration for that reason. I just like really love the photos on their own. So I think putting together like 3-4 women for this and putting in like my own like some like objects that are particularly Nigerian into this as well, like I think just kind of spoke to this larger theme of like West African womanhood. And here I would say is my take on like mother and child, Madonna and child as well. So it was fun to put this together, and I really end up like very deep on like stamp message boards and like old like all those chat rooms from like early internet where they talk about like nerdy stuff, and that's where I find a lot of my images for collage.
This is so fire because like as much as like I be on chat boards and I be on like deep internet chat boards, it's so many, and that's crazy. Like it's stamps, that's very exciting. Like again, that's more research for me to do. I don't know about the Congolese stamp collection, so now I have to do my research.
I'll send to you.
Love
for
Congolese
sure.
women. Shout out Grand-Mère. Like, come on, this is great. This is wow.
It's Salva Pantallas by Jorge Draxler.
Antiguas vitrolas, vamos pedaleando contra el viento, detrás de las olas. Tengo una canción para mostrarte, tal vez cuando vaya. Tengo tu sonrisa en un rincón y salva pantalla.
Wow, this is really good. I've been looking for some new. This
That's what it's all about, for real.
Y'all got some good
la casa se llenó de canciones, músicas y versos que brotaban desde tantos rincones.